Wanda, who is this?
You didn't see that coming?
Welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Erie, and here's all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in WandaVision Episode 5. So this episode takes us into the early 80s with a house that seems heavily inspired by the Keaton family from Family Ties. Vision's wardrobe seems largely based on Stephen Keaton's from that show. The house is also decorated with animal figurines and paintings, just like Wanda's previous home. I could be wrong, but I think this is a nod to the New Men in the comics. See, the genetic lab where Wanda was born was actually filled with genetic engineered half-men, half-animals.
Man, Pig is real.
Vision says that he was reading,
For some reason, Charles Darwin's The Descent of Man made him cry even harder.
Now, this work by Darwin was about natural selection, human reproduction, and the role of women in choosing a mate. Just like Wanda is running this reality and she's chosen her mate in the show, Vision.
Go to sleep, my babies.
It's very interesting that Wanda can't order the twins to sleep. And later on, Agnes even says,
Can't control them.
Wanda is also unable to stop them from aging up, pleading with them to stay young.
What?
Don't age yourselves up.
So why is this? If Wanda's controlling everyone, which by the way I'm still not certain she's doing, then why can't she control her boys? Because they are real, autonomous beings created with her own magic. Later on, they even question the reality of time in the show.
No, it's not. It's Monday.
This morning was Saturday.
In past episodes, I've theorized that someone was compelling Wanda to take control of Westview and to persuade her to have children. This explains the subliminal messages in episode 2. Now it looks like the children she's created are enormously powerful beings, capable of even resisting her powers. I do have a theory on who's doing this that I'll get into a little later. This is also playing off the sitcom trope of a baby being born, but the next season is a fully grown child. When the Vision enters, he's wearing pacifiers like the electrodes on the neck of Frankenstein's monster.
That's Frankenstein.
That's appropriate because in Age of Ultron, his creation was actually a metaphor for this story.
Maybe I am a monster. I don't think I'd know if I were one.
They were even both brought to life with lightning. Vision says,
Because we all need more time.
which is a running theme in this show. Twitter user Baron Tor pointed out to me that everyone in Westview is apparently wearing a wristwatch. There are always clocks in the house, and the commercials all feature time or clocks as a defining feature.
He'll make time for you.
So why is this? Well, the decades are obviously advancing very quickly in Westview, but also, time is what the Vision and Wanda most wanted for themselves in Infinity War.
I'm sorry. We just wanted time.
We are out of time.
But mostly I think it's just because time is running out for them. The Westview illusion is temporary, just like every TV show eventually runs its closing credits. Agnes enters and offers to watch the kids. Now, like I've said in every Easter egg video I've done, she's most likely the character Agatha Harkness, Wanda's mentor from the comics. Agatha was first introduced as the nanny of Franklin Richards, and later she did watch over Wanda's twins.
What kind of babysitter do you think I am?
And then we get this surreal scene.
Do you want me to take that again?
So what's happening here? This started because Vision stepped in and didn't follow the script.
Actually, you know what? Maybe we better not.
Now, Agnes is looking at Wanda for direction,
You want me to hold the babies?
like she's an actor. Wanda is either completely clueless or is just plain dumb for Vision's benefit. Now, I'm wondering if Wanda has had a psychotic break and has created a separate personality for herself. There's Wanda, and then there's TV Wanda. That could explain why she seems so clueless. And we actually have a video coming out tomorrow that goes into more detail about this, so keep an eye out for that. Agnes name drops Ralph again.
Ralph sprays it on me every night, but there's no taming this tiger.
Now this could be a nod to sitcom characters who are mentioned but never seen, like Ugly Naked Guy.
Ugly naked guy got a thigh master.
Or Ralph could be the key to everything. He could be the secret villain, the devil, or Jimmy's missing person. Let me know your best Ralph theory down in the comments. Personally, I hope there is no Ralph and this is just a gag. Although, Agnes does say their anniversary is June 2nd.
The only way Ralph would remember our anniversary is if there was a beer named June 2nd.
Which the channel Heavy Spoilers pointed out was the day of the Salem witch trials when women were accused of being witches and marrying the devil. So Ralph could be the devil. But moving on. The twins briefly disappear just like they did frequently in the comics. See, in the books, Wanda actually just imagined them into existence. And whenever she stops thinking of them, they fade away. Now notice that Billy is always wearing red and Tommy is always wearing blue. This is a nod to the collars worn by Wanda and her brother Pietro. But also in the comics, the twins return as teenage heroes named Wiccan and Speed, and these are the dominant collars that they wear in the books. We've actually got another video coming out about the twins and how they're going to lead into the next generation of Avengers, so subscribe to make sure that you catch that one when it comes out. And then we go into the intro, which is a mashup from at least 3 different 80s sitcoms. The font and painting gimmick are from Family Ties. The younger photos of the cast are from Growing Pains, and this shot is lifted directly from Full House, which is funny because Elizabeth Olsen is the younger sister of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, the twins who played Michelle on that show. Elizabeth was even approached to play Michelle on the revival Fuller House. But the intro also shows us the progression of time, not just the cast aging, but also the town itself. The old-fashioned photo of Westview is borrowed from Cheers. There are also several shots of Vision dressed as an animal, again, and maybe a nod to the New Men, or a metaphor for how they're all trapped in this zoo that Wanda has created. Now, Baby Vision is also posed with stuffed animals, implying that he's an inanimate object that Wanda is toying with. And on the chalkboard here, you can see an infinity sign, a nod to the Infinity Stones that gave Wanda and Vision their powers. And this is a diagram of a wormhole, and this is a possible explanation for the hexagons in this show. In the MCU, characters travel through space using a series of wormholes called the Universal Neural Transmission Network, and that is displayed as a hexagon grid. So it could be that Wanda's hex that she's created is another stop on this network. And then we go to the outside world. Monica says she remembers Wanda's voice in her head saying, "Trust." I think she said trust, which is interesting. Consider this. Later, Monica points out that Wanda is a telepath. She saw inside her mind, but she still let her into the town.
You trusted me to help deliver your babies. On some level, Wanda, you know I am an ally.
In fact, it's almost like Wanda wanted her to come in. So maybe she subconsciously wanted Monica to enter Westview and save these people. Or if she's being controlled, she slipped a message into the outside world.
Monica, I know, I'm a big fan.
Now, Darcy's a big fan of Monica's, but it's not because she's aware of her work as a sword agent, it's because she's a cast member on the show.
I'm invested.
Monica's scan comes up almost blank, but it does look like the costume of her alter ego Photon, which is a particle of light also name-dropped in this episode.
Comprised of lead for photons.
So I'm going to say that yes, her being blipped and then slung out of the hex has given her superpowers and she's going to be a superhero. For the first time, we hear the names of Wanda and Pietro's parents. Now that's interesting because there's a theory that the couple from the commercials are actually their parents. And if that's true, that'll definitely be important later in the show. During Hayward's briefing, we see news reports from WHIH, the in-universe cable news of the MCU, which released social videos tying into Ant-Man and Captain America Civil War. And we also see the Maximoff's protest footage that we saw in that movie. But a new piece of information is that she and Pietro were orphaned at the age of 10, the exact same age as Wanda's twins.
Don't what?
Don't age yourselves up.
She wants them to stay this age to provide them with a childhood that she and Pietro never had, so they can essentially pick up where she left off. And by the way, is Hayward a villain? The show sure wants us to think so.
Hayward's a dude.
Terrorists.
Even later, when Wanda turns the guns on him, if he's controlling Wanda, that's exactly the kind of ruse that a villain would pull. He mentions the events of Lagos in Germany that we saw in Captain America Civil War. Lagos was the country where she lost control of her powers and killed civilians with an explosion. And then we see a video of Wanda stealing Vision's corpse. Now this really plays into the Hayward is a bad guy theory. After all, he knew where the corpse was, and he could have fed that information to Wanda. I'm not sure why he would want her to create a sitcom fantasy world unless he wanted her kids for some nefarious reason. Notice in this video that Vision's body is spread out on several different tables. In the comic book West Coast Avengers, he was erased and rebuilt, and his components were spread out just like this. Darcy name drops.
But she has the world's only vibranium synthezoid playing Father Knows Best in suburbia.
Synthezoid is what Vision actually is, a synthetic man and not an android, and Father Knows Best was a corny sitcom from the 50s. Wanda says,
Taking care of a living thing is a big responsibility.
and she would know. She's controlling the entire town. Or is she?
That I am somehow in charge of everybody in Westview. Walking their dogs, mowing their lawns, getting them to dentist appointments on time.
They named their dog Sparky, the name of Vision's synthetic dog from the comics. Both dogs die the same way, by eating poison flowers. Sparky just can't catch a break in any medium. The newspaper here reads, "Local homemakers innovating recipes," a reference to Wanda using her magic to create kids. And the back ad is for a TV set. So far, every newspaper we've seen has contained a reference to motherhood as the headline and an ad for a TV on the back. A clever way of saying that Wanda is using TV to become a mom. Monica name drops,
I know an aerospace engineer who'd be up for this challenge.
Now, who do you think this could be? Now, there are a lot of theories that there's going to be a Fantastic Four connection in this show, so it could be Reed Richards, but I doubt it. I'm betting that she's actually going to call your mom. One of my favorite parts of watching WandaVision is when I get to spot your mom in the show. So I thought, why not expand my horizons and find your mom in history's greatest media? That's why I started that'syourmom.com, powered by Squarespace, the sponsor of this week's video. Now, this is my first time building a fully comprehensive website like this, so I'm improving it a little every week. My end goal is to be the #1 website in the world that finds your mom. Even though Squarespace offers terrific templates, I decided to add some color, tweak the fonts, and add a custom logo. Squarespace allows me to get a detailed traffic overview, so I checked the analytics and saw that, holy cow, 15,000 people have gone to this site in search of their mom. This also lets me see that a majority of the users are on mobile, so I'm able to switch over to mobile view and make sure the design looks right for those users. Squarespace is offering Screen Crush fans a free trial at squarespace.com/screencrush and use the code ScreenCrush to get 10% off your first purchase, or click the link in the description to sign up. Now, if you have any ideas for the site, you can tweet them to me because Squarespace seamlessly integrates your social media links into the site design. And who knows, maybe someday you'll create a website that points out my mom. That's squarespace.com/screencrush and use the code ScreenCrush to get started today with 10% off your first purchase. Back to the Easter eggs. Darcy has given the anomaly a nickname.
What's a hex?
It's what I'm calling the anomaly because of its hexagonal shape.
Which is a nod to Wanda's hex powers in the comics.
She could have taken out Thanos on her own if he hadn't initiated a blitz.
They recount the final battle of Avengers Endgame, which is cool because it means that all of those events are public record. But also, did you notice how Monica didn't like the mention of Auntie Carol?
Well, I'd argue that Captain Marvel came close.
We are not talking about her, we are talking about Wanda.
Maybe she resents Carol for being gone so long, or maybe she resents Carol for not saving her mom when she had cancer, or for not returning to visit her. I mean, I don't know. We won't find out for sure till Captain Marvel 2. They make a discovery about Wanda's powers.
It's not an illusion. Wanda is rewriting reality.
Which is her abilities in the comics. Wanda wouldn't just destroy a building with energy, she would change the building's reality to make the structure so weak that it was always going to fail. Back at work, Norm says to the Vision,
"It's a hell of a thing watching you work these computers, Vision. It's like you speak their language."
Which is exactly what he did in Age of Ultron, rewriting nuclear codes and burning Ultron out of the net. Vision's tie also looks very much like the disappearing Trick cabinet from Episode 2, and that cabinet's design was based on the Mind Stone. By the way, kids, I remember when this was the most exciting sound in the world. Time to talk to my Canadian girlfriend on ICQ.
Napoleon, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with babes all day.
Now, it's interesting that once this era catches up to the information age, the townspeople are able to receive Darcy's sword communications before Wanda or someone corrects reality.
High levels of radiation present at perimeter. Effect on Westview residents unknown.
Now, for a moment, this pulls everyone out of Wanda's control, and they're consumed by this outside communication. Now, where have we seen this before?
It's for the children.
For the children.
For the children.
I think this is foreshadowing that eventually the townspeople will be used to either turn against Wanda or against the force that's controlling her. Now, after this moment, the show switches from 3-camera sitcom to single camera to visualize that the Vision is breaking free of this control. He frees Norm from this influence, just like he burned Ultron out of the internet.
Where's my phone? I have to call my sister. She's taking care of our dad.
But here's the thing. Norm's little breakdown here was already written up in his profile that Sword hung up in the last episode. So, is this a continuity error? Maybe. But what if Norm had had this breakdown before, but Vision's mind was erased, so he didn't remember this occurring? What do you think? Does that earn me a no prize? So here's a theory. Norm says,
"You have to stop her."
So what if he doesn't mean Wanda? He could mean Dottie. I mean, look at the clues. Agnes says,
Dottie is the key to everything in this town.
Dottie is also the one who initially plants the idea of children in the town's head.
This is for the children.
For the children.
And she's one of the few named characters who hasn't appeared on
the big board.
When the twins bring up Pietro, she says,
"He's far away from here, and that makes me sad."
That's because in this world, which is built on grief, grief can never actually be acknowledged. Recognizing her emotional pain is a step toward dealing with it, and that would make this reality collapse. Darcy points out that Wanda has edited out the drone like the other edits we've seen in the show. Again, I'm not sure that's true.
Wanda decides what makes it onto her show and what doesn't.
It could still be some outside force manipulating what we see in the broadcast. Some kind of director. Get it? Director Hayward? When Wanda exits Westview, she's wearing her costume from Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. and her accent's back. In the comics, her father is Magneto, and here she pulls the same trick that he did in the first X-Men movie. Afterwards, the barrier becomes red like the energy of the ether. I'm guessing that now it's going to be fully impregnable, and the cosmic background radiation will be even more harmful to the people of Westview, creating a ticking clock for the show. Then there's the newest commercial, this one for Lagos paper towels. The red juice symbolizes the blood spilled during the Avengers Lagos mission. All of the commercials revisit a past trauma in Wanda's life. The Stark shell, Strucker, Hydra, and now this.
Lagos. For when you make a mess, you didn't mean to.
Showing these events as commercials is a way of trivializing them, saying, well, they don't matter, they're just interludes in my larger, happier story. David Pillay on Twitter pointed this out to me. Each of the commercials represents a different Infinity Stone. The Mind Stone's in the middle of the toaster, like the Vision's forehead. Strucker watches the Time Stone, Hydra Soak is shaped like the Tesseract, and now the red, chaotic liquid of the juice spill is like the ether. That's a good catch. We see the mailman again, and he seems extremely aware of his environment.
Don't worry, he's sure to turn up. Your mom won't let him get far.
Just like Agnes earlier acknowledged that Wanda was in control of the show.
You want me to hold the babies?
And then, man, poor Sparky dies, and her kids urge her to...
He is family. Bring him back, Mom.
Now this is another subliminal cue that leads to her resurrecting Pietro. Kind of. This shows that Wanda is not in full control of this reality. She's very susceptible to the influence of others. Again, showing that she's easily manipulated. Now Agnes is definitely playing a leading role in all of this. She sprays the boys with some kind of potion before they age the first time. And then she's there when they age the second time. And then she's subtly nudging Wanda toward raising the dead.
You can fix anything, Mom. Fix it dead.
You can do that?
And when Sparky dies, this morphs into a very special episode.
Tonight, on a very special blossom.
Another sitcom trope where events suddenly get serious.
I'm so scared.
Side characters die, and real-world issues are faced, like racism, alcoholism, or abortion. As sitcoms evolved in the real world, they slowly tackled real-world problems and became a better reflection of the world around us. Just like in WandaVision, as the show progresses through the decades, Wanda's dream world edges closer and closer to reality. Vision finally confronts her.
You can't control me the way you do them.
And in an effort to control him, she rolls credits. Now these are the names of the actual people who work on this show, which is so meta it makes my head spin. These people created a show within the show that I'm watching, which Wanda actually created, meaning someone could have created me and I'm on a TV screen right now. Wait. I am on a screen right now. Now notice that when Vision follows Wanda into the next room, the show glitches, just like it did earlier when we cut between different worlds. This is a subtle way of showing us that this is no longer the show. This is the real Wanda and Vision speaking to each other.
I can't remember my life before Westview. I don't know who I am.
Also, maybe Vision can't remember because he doesn't have the Mind Stone in his head anymore. Then he raises a good question.
Wonder why are there no other children in Westview?
Now, that's interesting because Dottie's fundraiser was... meaning that it was actually for Wanda's children only, and the whole town exists only to create and support these kids. Oh, and this line?
I don't know how any of this started in the first place.
Implies that she's definitely being manipulated by someone, right? Maybe an outside force, or maybe by her split personality. But this is definitely not all Wanda acting alone. And then, the best moment. Pietro returns from the dead. Kind of. So I'm going to briefly go over what this means, but I'm going to go into more detail in our Ending Explained video. This is Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
I could save time in a bottle.
Now those movies were made by Fox, which is now owned by Disney, meaning technically they're part of the Disney IP umbrella. But here, Evan Peters is playing a knockoff version of the character that he's already played. He's even wearing the colors of Quicksilver's costume from the comics, which is like Marvel Studios saying that the Fox X-Men movies weren't the real thing, they were just imitations.
Who's a popsicle?
This is also another sitcom trope. The guest star, the cousin or uncle with a funny accent that comes in, shakes things up, and then leaves everyone a little better off than they were before. But let me throw this out there. Let's say that since Marvel now owns the Fox X-Men movies, that those films are part of the multiverse. Theoretically, an MCU character could pop in and meet Hugh Jackman's Logan, or Deadpool could come to the MCU.
Oh, hello. I know, right?
It is possible that Wanda was able to pluck a living version of Pietro out of the multiverse and bring him into the MCU. In other words, this could be Pietro from the X-Men movies, but resurrected in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Long lost bro get to squeeze his stinking sister to death or what?
And think about this. The town subliminally encouraged Wanda to create kids. Then the children encouraged her to bring Pietro back from another reality. And maybe that was the secret villain's end goal. to bring characters together from all realities, weakening the barriers between worlds. And this could be why Wanda's going to appear in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Well, that's everything I found, but if you have any Easter eggs, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Arey.